Finally, good news. Sadinam Tamaklo, U.S. court, release a young Fmr Ghana. She should be extradited to Ghana. Only facing a 10-year jail sentence. There's also an update on Ofori Atta. The next step. Oliver Bakavoma or catch no breaking news, until even the Ghanaian media, Joy News, Critical Analysis Channel, City and Sunday neighbor say Ofori Atta say Jana Wakasa. Yeah, information what will happen to Ofori Atta next. Then a US Marshal identified Sadinam Tamaklo on February 26th. February 6, 2026. And then the court to their court is finally Sadinam Tamaklo, former MASLOC boss, extradited to Ghana to face a 10-year jail. They about Ghana a day in the BC. Medobako July 2024. Conferred damage and the starting process. Attorney General Kasaya Sadinam Tamaklo on the 11th of November 2025. The sound called the 18th of December 2025. News in Abasa court said Sadinam Tamaklo finally Omra Ghana no me facing the sentence. Any bon come on the critical match. So best subscribe my subscribe and click the notification the video be to you will certainly have a comment. Feel free, leave that comment in the comments. You are not Goldberry Construction Limited or Dana Pesosino or Assassin Kratas and all the documentation Goldberry in the BDC money in Amawia. No one called Brimpomba so addiction related to trauma related to aged care or Brimpomba in the BDC money in at the amount. Sadinam Tamaklo Kuma Munimino ya jelino. For 10 years, I didn't in a jail Sadinam Tamaklo. Mami read him or say. Sadinam Tamaklo was in April 2024 sentenced to 10 years imprisonment of hard labor after being found guilty on 78 counts. That's a kind of rat account near the border, including causing financial loss to this one more minor boka, stealing where we are there, conspiracy to steal no be a konakra na so be we are there, money laundering, one movie sky and fa kwine papa so, and breach of procurement, public procurement, and as a procurement or cotoniama, would you a basic could be jume embrace or fashion one fast amra kwine so. His co-accused former MASLOC Chief Executive Officer Daniel Axim was also sentenced to 5 years imprisonment of hard labor. Abranten were called them Nansaya Crown. The two were prosecuted for offenses committed between 2013 and 2016. Now, the President Mahama one no born in this MASLOC boss. I want to put this jury between 2013 and 2016. Involving misappropriation of funds meant for MASLOC activities. The trial, which began in 2019, saw the state call 6 witnesses. In 2013-2016, 78 can steal money laundering and the conspiracy to steal near there. Now 2019, MPP are buying a charge in almost friendly past 6 Nibedia dance here. Etia Mame Sadinam Tamaklo. Sadinam Tamaklo was tried in absentia after she absconded. Once on permission from the court to seek medical treatment abroad. It is said in Tamaklo no court. As some start no court wa. And no catch a court me yare me home to me mesramo. Mo ko buche nkwa me ho yare ma. Okoi no den hu kan wura wa mabiu. Na Daniel Axim, however, testified in person but did not call any witnesses. Daniel Axim no ye call accused no only chief operating officer ewo hono so de court ekodi adanse say wa fasika na ne ade one free witness bi amede adanse ama no. Among the offenses established by the court, established by the court, they say court do na ye de born no court ni nyina so gitu mu sa mpa waye. Ti ye mebo was you court to say waye. Eno no dina so de jail in 10 years no. Withdrawal of 500,000 as loan to Tampa Savings and Loans Company, which the convict later demanded to be refunded after the institution declined to agree to 24% interest rate. Or say, Sikabi had the common savings and loans will be later or more this kind of man back because interest rate and also more agree no. My company announced to mom this kind of buy. Or said the court also found that 1.7 million allocated for a sensitization exercise was misappropriated. Skabia 1.7 million cancer sensitization. They could buy the euro, Ebiamunye say, Mamunye say, the Munye say, any friend sensitization and also Umudisicano. We know say MASLOC was expected to pay 20 cedis each to 85,300 beneficiaries, but only 1,300 was used for the intended purposes. Next is Kabianeta MASLOC Kuchaman Krufu so Miscano Eran Quanta. Additionally, only 579,800 out of the 1.4 million meant for the victims of Cantamanto Inferno was disbursed. A bread that talk Cantamanto and a man here Sika. Don't Mahama buy the man must discuss something common. Sika 1.4 million cedis in a man coche just about half of it. 579,000 yakano, and so so that is about almost 800 million. A round contest can yen muchly. That is that. Again, okoto Samsung phones bi ni ade no de bi tuto so said nam tamaklo the charge ni. Na ye den ye che no on the 6th of February 2026 no. Say that US Marshals say na ye yom de ko hu tamaklo said nam tamaklo che no. Or say, according to unclassified law enforcement sensitive information, a warrant for Mrs. Sadidam Tamaklo was issued on December 12, 2025 by the U.S. District Court for the District of Nevada, citing her status as a fugitive from the Republic of Ghana following a conviction on embezzlement-related charges and Ghana's request for extradition. And on the 12th of December last year, and a U.S. court of Nevada issue warrant. It's a Sadidam Tamaklo Ghana officials from June of 2024 July. And the diabo man means a mami Ghana hiano ya convicting is skabi a wedding to mani hiano. Tedi or say 6th January 2026 time ya the chicken of Ofori Atta. And Nevada Violent Offenders Task Force located the former MASLOC boss at Iwonifi. Tedi around 2 p.m. no officers no positively identified share the picture. Ah man no ni onwa means onwa officer onwa no say onwa the 250 no mo che na 6 January yo obi ene puan approximately around 305 task force no mu an na ne boko ma me nkasa e no mo che no into mo che no on the 6th by Ghana ya report news no on the 6th of February 2020 almost a month later ne bete say sa day ne de che Ken Ofori Atta and sa day na ne de che madam Sadidam Tamaklo. But on the 11th of November na man for that Attorney General ne wo ye yinti Sadidam Tamaklo be do Akroma say no kind
office, that is the office of the Attorney General, is awaiting the execution of our request to have her extradited to serve her prison sentence in Ghana. The International Cooperation Unit of the Attorney General's Department followed up on our request from the Department of Justice, the United States of the United States of America in September 2025. So if there is any impression being created that I am not taking any steps, this is the evidence that in September, that is just a month ago, I took the step of inquiring from the United States Justice Department the steps that they were taking in respect of the extradition. And they indicated that they are following their extradition procedures in executing the request, and that the fugitive will be extradited as soon as they have satisfied all the procedures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, later, Naman for be Sonia convinced the press conference and so on the 18th of December, your Kaba said in Tamaklo any.
The former MASLOC CEO. I had to answer questions in Parliament in relation to her, and that is in relation to her extradition. And I did indicate to Parliament that in July of 2024, the formal request for her extradition was put in by my predecessor, right? In other words, it was put in by my office. Now, the American authorities have, worked on it. Okay, they've worked on the extradition. The extradition proceedings have taken place in the United States. And we are expecting that, barring any appeal by her lawyers, she may, very soon be extradited to Ghana to serve her prison term. And her lawyers, of course, if she comes and she instructs them to go to court on her behalf because she was tried in absentia, that will be another, angle to the matter. But that drama will be played out here on this side of the Atlantic and not in the United States of America. So that is all that I can say about her. I don't have any definitive information about when she will be, extradited. But the Americans have indicated that they've completed this in the process.
Yes. Nene, Anna reporting about breaking news. Say, U.S. court orders extradition of former MASLOC CEO Sadidam Tamaklo to Ghana. Or say, a U.S. District Court has ordered the extradition of former CEO of the Microfinance and Small Loan Center, MASLOC Sadidam Tamaklo, who has been convicted and jailed by the Accra High Court in absentia for stealing and causing financial loss to the state. Or say, following a request by the government of Ghana in 2025, a U.S. District Court sitting in the state of Nevada certified the extradition request. Therefore, Team Rano Mokano, pursuant to Article Beni Adeno, or say, the U.S. Secretary of State has finally the rule to say, okay, Sadidam Tamaklo betimi aba Ghana. This is a victory for anti-corruption and the corruption. Na Ofori Atta nso ayeja ne me akofie me catch us no breaking news no Papa Oliver Baka former we na okojoin no chim na your information no. What should we expect next? Ofori Atta say yamani bail I say they change bi ato no 9 baby on them you no o ma gene passport no. What should the Ghanaian people expect? Ono lawyer inkuti me ba me chere madwon all these issues
about this. How do you get to know about it? And no, I mean, like, sadly, I'm not able to talk about where the information came from because of. But it did come from the States, and even when I got the information, even though I was certain about it, I just said, "Can the media confirm whether this is true or not?" I don't know for sure whether or not the Attorney Generals were monitoring the trial, so we would have had the information a day prior. If they did, they didn't alert the public to this, and I think that in terms of how the office reacts to some of these things, particularly when there's so much public interest in this, it's my hope that they are at the forefront of how they manage the information before it gets into the public domain. More generally, I think those are my comments on it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, but we understand it's under onerous bail conditions. How much of it that do you know?
And so that information as well, like I kind of put that out, that understanding is the $65,000 bond, the electronic ankle monitor, which confines him to a perimeter within the jurisdiction of the court, the fact that his passport has been obtained from him, the fact that he has to regularly check in with ICE, he has to notify as well any changes in address to ICE. Those are the conditions.
But which passport is this? The one that we were told had been revoked?
No, not passport. The visa.
The visa. Okay.
Not the passport.
Okay. Right.
Only Ghana can revoke the passport.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is completely different from the extradition processes.
Yes.
This is a violation of the immigration status. His immigration status in the United States of America. And so he had entered the United States on the understanding that he will stay there for a certain...
So he's supposed to appear in the court on April 27 for the deportation proceedings.
Abutrika is also going for his bail application.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then if people want to understand what is involved in extradition, they need to look at Abutrika. It's not that simple.
And even look at the Dizani.
Yeah, it's not that simple. Yeah. So what has happened in the United States is that the court has admitted Ofori Atta to bail on an immigration issue, not an extradition request.
Yeah, but we are told that if the issue of the extradition was really taken seriously, he would not be liable to bail.
Let me speak on this.
Yeah.
Because the U.S. request for the extradition of Abutrika came on 6th of December. He was arrested on the 10th. Within 4 days, was arrested. And in fact, when I say came, it was sent from the embassy to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs before then transmitting to the other agencies. So the agencies would have had just about a day notice and stepped in. Now, our extradition packet has been sent, I understand, finally in February. We are in April. And no action has been taken in connection with it. And if the person is already in...
Because the judge has to see it.
Yes.
And as we are being told, it was not made available.
Yes.
Something.
And so this is a question for the U.S. Department to answer. And I've talked about when it gets to the State Department and issues like that, if it moves away from the Attorney General's remit to the Foreign Office.
And to avoid being presumptuous, it could also be a strategy that they don't want to hand it to the judge who is doing an immigration issue. They want to deal with it separately.
Well, the question is whether or not you want him to continuously detain in connection with the extradition. Because you can also have commenced it before another judge, and for which reason orders would have been made to continue to keep the person in custody. Unlike in Ghana, where the Supreme Court says that when you are undergoing extradition, you are entitled to bail. In America, the law is opposite, which is that there's a presumption against bail. And so we have we are more liberal than they are. And that process has not been commenced. And I believe that questions ought to be asked because the posture of the U.S. doesn't indicate that they have taken this thing seriously. And before you come in, I have made it publicly clear that the only reason that I even took up the defense of Abutrika is because of the unequal treatment of how the U.S. has treated Ghanaian requests for extradition vis-a-vis ours. That I don't think that we are being treated as equal parties, and I think that ought to stop, and we need to revisit the arrangement.
Yes. Now, on the 18th of December, audio na me bomba that Attorney General Samsa what to happen to set them Tamaklu next. If you're a critical analyst, I know you catch it. One, Oba Ghana, two things. Oba ya betcheno, ya didn't go jail. Obetima instructing the lawyers on file a stay of such sentence because she was tried in absentia. And now it taking the plea there, Ghana, or pleading not guilty. So the case proved their case in court. Obetimi file ako an appeals court because high court in a ruling here or court appeals court the sentence may be stayed meaning say them time obetimi tenafie entenye say oba Ghana near the na kotu ni sawam Saturday na obetimi ko jail but within that week na no he can instruct the lawyers so mon ko no mun ko stay that sentence no bra Saturday na kosu nyina no so no there's a likelihood say maybe she may be taken home. Maybe that's what the lawyers are telling me. She may be in jail while the process is going on, but there's also the likelihood that she may be home while the process is going on. Then yes, it is finito. Debbie, though says she has been convicted by the High Court, she can go all the way to the appeals court and appeal the sentence. And on appeal, is two things. She can be granted a leave based on a lot of things. At least be that. Now, say me in the video, no one press conference. I say so. It is also possible in law. That is what the lawyers are telling me. So that is also the brief on said that it's not finito. So by bad jargon and na kuji odebi. Makachi me raise hopes. Na kuji because my message that is what they are telling me. And go back and listen to the Attorney General. Even for purposes of emphasis, yenti Attorney General with that bit of Obagana and the bit me Attorney General.
We are expecting that, barring any appeal by her lawyers, she may, very soon be extradited to Ghana to serve her prison term. And her lawyers, of course, if she comes and she instructs them to go to court on her behalf because she was tried in absentia, that will be another, angle to the matter. But that drama will be played out here on this side of the Atlantic and not in the United States of America.
Yes. So that's that. And one of my Samadidama in Chino. She has the right to appeal her conviction. That is that. Me order that says that is a win for the government. A chese ora no enya bonten so for a few phones we disika na enya na ma me no de bia me store na me say kantamantu ja toho. Ye hwemu yie ne ja toho fisika koma ma oba no we disika. We court a rule to we nya say me court say ade oyeye no. Oba no ba appeal different matter but all my idea eno we disika. Adena moye yesa wo public officer fa tu hu waguna busua no no ane ho ani ma ase waguna ni ma ase. Feel free. I think it's a victory for Ghana. What do you think? Feel free, share it in the comment section. We are now subscribe now click the notification me the video be to my be na what me ahwe bi tell the be American make sure so be show you the ma me here Ghana so here. Bye bye.